Hey folks, Post here. Welcome back to another Pokemon Masters video, or welcome to a Pokemon Masters video if this is the first time watching any of these videos, right? Because this video is generally structured towards folks who, either haven't played the game before or have played it at the beginning and kind of dropped the game, a little bit after the launch, after the hype died down, right? So first of all, before we get into this, shout outs to TC on Patreon who sponsored this video. Again, if you guys do want to sponsor any videos, have any video suggestions that you want me to do, you could go ahead and check out my Patreon link, which is in the description box down below, and you can support me on there, and there's some pretty cool perks and stuff. So anyways, let's get into this. So Pokemon Masters launched with very, very high expectations, right? They did a lot of marketing around that. They had a lot of animated trailers and all that stuff. It was extremely hype when it first dropped. A lot of people were playing it. Super exciting. But slowly, after a few months or so, the hype slowly died down, and folks who initially played the game, a lot of people put it down, right? And it's not without good reason, right? Because when the game first launched, there were multiple issues that the players had with the game, and we'll go over them really quickly. So one of the major issues that folks had with the game was that there wasn't really much content, right? It's not like a huge knock on the game, but it was true, right? I mean, the game first launched, you can't expect games who first launch had everything in the game, right? That part of the hype building process is slowly adding stuff to the game over time, right? But at the time, there was nothing much to do in the game. After you beat the story, all you basically left to do was just do training areas, just strengthen your units to do nothing. Because there wasn't really much to do after, sure, you get a full level 100 team, but what are you gonna do with it, right? The only semi-difficult endgame content at the time was the EX challenges, EX co-ops, and those at the time were really, really tough to deal with. First of all, they were slow, which now they've sped it up, right? But at the time they were pretty slow, and they were very demanding in terms of units and cooperation, right? You almost had to have the exact set of units to beat this with a very highly coordinated team, which again is very, very hard to achieve. So a lot of people were turned off by that, right? Wasn't the most exciting content in the game, and they stopped doing these, although they also reworked these now, so they're not that hard anymore. You can basically use whatever to beat them. But at the time, it was a huge turnoff for folks. There wasn't much to do in the game. And I guess another part was that, folks' favorite characters weren't in the game. Folks were coming in, they see the red on the logo, and they clicked in and there's no red, right? So, a lot of folks' favorite characters weren't in the game either. And another thing was that there was droughts in terms of gems, right? The game was relatively stingy in terms of trying to give out gems for people to use to summon on units, right? So there were, again, a variety of reasons why folks probably dropped the game at the time. So now let's get into how much the game has improved since then. So I think about 3 months in or 4 months in, I think it's 2 or 3 months in, right? The developers did notice this problem, and then they issued a developer's letter outlining where they thought they went wrong with the game, right? They were really, straightforward and honest with how the game was at, right? They recognized that it wasn't doing too well, that folks weren't, extremely excited with the game, and then they talked about, how they were planning to improve it. They had a whole roadmap of updates lined out, and was talking about again how they were going to improve the game and make it obviously better, and they've been doing that ever since. They were getting monthly developer updates in terms of how they want the game to go, and any updates or whatever that that we should be looking forward to, any fixes that they want to make the game improvements on all that stuff. So that's definitely a plus, and everything honestly started to get better from there. Once we had more communication with the developers, more transparency in terms of what they're doing, and they were listening to what we were saying, the game was obviously getting better, right? They've been very receptive to feedback, right? You could easily send feedback in the game, and they're very responsive to a lot of that as well. So that was the first part in terms of, you know, how much or how the game has improved, right? As for some other stuff, obviously as time has passed, we've gotten new characters in the game, right? Your favorite characters who weren't in the game at the time probably are in the game right now. Obviously not every Pokemon characters in the game, but you know, we've gotten a lot of new ones. Lance, you know, Lance is in the game now. Cynthia, Red, Steven, Zinnia, you know, Ethan, if you like that. Everyone's favorite Clement obviously is also in the game. You know, Jasmine, Wally, whatever, right? A lot of new characters are in the game. Dawn, Serena, who just dropped, right? And you know, that could be a reason why folks want to play the game again if they see their, you know, favorite characters in the game. And you know, most of them aren't limited. Most of them you could just get them from whatever banner, right? So those are all around. So obviously we got a more expanded pool of characters, and the characters got much more interesting, right? They weren't as one-dimensional as before, and almost all the units, I'd say like 90% of the cast in the game is very, very much viable. Even like a lot of 3 stars, 4 stars are very viable in the game, right? So there's that. You could just use whatever sync pair you want, and you could achieve good results with it, right? You won't have to, you know, forced to use whatever if you don't like Rosa, which, first of all, what kind of monster are you? But second of all, you know, if you don't want to use Rosa, you can use someone else, right? So again, a lot of improvements over there, right? In terms of some other things, characters related, they now launched something called the Sync Grid system, which if you guys played Dokkan Battle, it's be something like the potential system, except it's more customizable and more personal to each unit, right? Every unit has a different sync grid, right, that they have, right? And it makes them so much more powerful. Units with sync grids are incredibly powerful, right? So they increase their move power. They give them like straight up like new passives, whatever, like damage boosting passives or whatever, like healing passives, depending on what unit that you're using. They have lots of more different functions, and makes them so much more interesting, right, in the game. And as for some other stuff, one other thing that folks weren't too thrilled about when the game first launched was a lot of units actually that, you know, had basic Pokemon didn't evolve, right? And now a lot of those Pokemon have evolved. I think most of them, except for like 1 or 2, you know, having like Brock's Onix, which again wouldn't make sense for Brock's Onix to evolve. The player's Pikachu doesn't evolve either, which again makes a lot of sense. And also player's Torchic for some reason, but that should be evolving in the future. But yeah, stuff like Hilbert's Oshawott, now you can evolve it to Samurott, right? Phoebe's Dusclops, you can evolve it to Dusknoir, all that stuff. Roxanne's Nosepass, you can evolve it to Probopass if for some reason you want that, which I don't know why. Okay, I'm kidding. Better stats. But I personally like Nosepass much more, and I know a lot of people as well. Clay, now you got Seismitoad with Clay, right? A lot of, you know, Pokemon that they've evolved. Voltorb's now Electrode if you want, right? Again, you don't have to evolve it, but there's that option. Yeah, Ramos's Weepinbell is now Victory Bell. So there's that as well, which again, a lot of people were asking for at the beginning of the game. And now here we go, we have that in the game as well. So moving on to like some character related, Gacha related stuff, right? Again, like I mentioned before, at the beginning of the game, they're kind of stingy with gems, and now they just give out like free gems just everywhere, basically, right? There's just constant login bonuses that are going on that just gives you like gems, right? Right now, there's like, you're getting like 200 per day just by logging in and not doing anything else, right? Obviously, there's a lot more that you could do to get more gems. You can do your daily missions, get gems, and there's also events that drop like every week or so that gives you like thousands of gems, right? Just like non-stop. So there's a lot of gems that you can pick up from that as well, which again, gems you need to summon for characters. And there's also now a bingo system, which if you haven't done it yet, you just straight up pick up 6,000 gems from that. And then there's also weekly bingos that give you, you know, even more gems over there. And obviously more story, which gives you more gems. And there's now a hard mode for the story. So if you like go through the whole story again, if you played it in hard mode, you get a bunch of gems, a few thousand gems there as well. And just like constant updates, events, they just keep on dropping you gems So again, it's not as stingy as they were before. People actually have gems to summon on units now, so that's pretty nice, nice, right? So as for the game in general, in my opinion, it's a really free-to-play friendly game, because like you have so many just incredibly powerful free-to-play units, and in my opinion, one of the best units in the game right now, Skyla and Swanna, is completely free to play. And if you're wondering, if you play the game back in the day, and you're like, Skyla and Swanna, I mean, they were good back then, but like, how are they that well? Because we have now more difficult content that require not just everyone just bring their strongest striker, deal the most damage, and then you win, right? It's much more strategic, the game has become, and units like Skyla and Swanna that have heals, defenses, speed are invaluable, right? Again, Swanna, one of the best units in the game, completely free to play. You don't have to spend a penny in the game to beat like every single content in the game. Every single content in the game is beatable with completely free to play units, right? So far. Again, there's a new event dropping tonight, which we don't know if that's completely free to playable, but I would assume it would be, right? But yeah, there's that as well. So again, really good stuff. As for talking about these events and stuff, right? They have been dropping more and more events, right? We're basically getting like usually at least one new event every week, sometimes even more, right? Right now we have like 3 events up, and that's just from like the past 2 weeks or so. We're getting another huge event dropping tonight, which is the legendary arena event, right? Cobalion is dropping tonight, so there's that as well. So yeah, a lot of these events are much more sophisticated than they were before. There's stuff, we got more story chapters, right? We're advancing in the PML, and we're making a lot of progress here, right? We could win it all soon. The 1 year anniversary is in the horizon, so this will be a really good time to pick the game up to, save up some gems right before that, or you could spend them all right now if you want, because extremely powerful unit. Serena is out right now. Serena and Delphox. You guys know why? If you guys don't know why Serena and Delphox is so powerful, it's because first of all, we've gotten a lot more harder content in the game, right? A lot of much more hard content that actually requires a lot of strategy, skill, and planning tactics to actually beat them, right? And it's not just, again, just throw out your hardest hitter and then you win. You can't do that anymore. You actually have to use some tech units. Tech units are now very powerful, and in general much more useful than strikers, which is again very different from how the game started out, which when the game first started, everyone just throws out like 3 strikers in co-op and hope for the best, right? Again, now it's very much different. Tech units, very powerful: sleep, poison, flinch, burn, right? Whatever. Slow, accuracy debuffs, evasion, this and that. Tankiness is a very valuable quality right now. Healing is incredibly powerful. So there's a lot of that going on, and the reason why Serena is that powerful is because Serena basically has Dark Void. Serena basically has Dark Void with accuracy buffs, right? You can just sleep the entire opponent's team. Very powerful, right? Steven's also powerful as well. So there's that, right? In terms of harder content, like I mentioned before, we've got like 2 very hard content, right? One's called the Battle Villa, where you have to like beat this thing with a limited amount of units, and after you beat a stage, your HP and your MP that you've spent does not recover until like the next day, right? And then there's like a certain amount of days that you have to beat this in, so there's that as well. Also the legendary arena, that's a new content right now. Well, the NT event just ended, but we're literally getting a new one like tonight, so these are very difficult events as well, right? These guys, it's basically like a boss raid kind of thing that has like 1 billion bars of health, and then you have to use like 30 units to beat it. So very interesting and tough content as well. You get some medals and some cool stuff for beating it. And like they really did structure it so that there's like different difficulties for different levels of players, right? If you first came into the game, you still have relatively difficult events that aren't too overpowering for you, like the super courses or whatever, right? Those are still an option. If you're kind of intermediate, you got some like okay-ish units, you know what you're doing. You could battle stuff like the full force battle, right? Which is again a very new thing that they just came out with, which again is very fun and relatively challenging. or you could still do again the EX co-ops, which again would be fine as difficulty for intermediate players, and also legendary events when they ever come, right? And then again for folks who are at the end game, you could try stuff like Battle Villa or you know, Legend Arena, at least for, you know, it doesn't have to be end games, guys. Once you get the hang of the game, know what you're doing, you have some decent units. Again, it doesn't have to be simple, it could be fully free to play, right? And you should be fine. So yeah, harder content, that's a big one. Legendary Pokemon, that's also huge in this game, right? As well, you got and you got legendary arenas, which are a thing right now. You could, again, we just had Entei, that was, again, this is completely new. And then we're getting Cobalion tonight, and then we got, you know, all the other legendary units that we've had in the game that again are all free. Like, these are all like free units. Mewtwo, Giovanni, you know, Xenia Rayquaza, Silverho, and Yu and Solgaleo. So a lot of really interesting stuff. That, again, these are all free, right? That came out in terms of events and stuff. And yeah, is there anything else? Oh, eggs. Eggs are new. If you guys like Pokemon eggs, you like hatching eggs and stuff. These are new as well. And eggs, it's a completely new feature, but like, it literally, a new feature just dropped, and we already got like 30 different kind of eggs. And again, they're gonna expand them with time, so there's that as well. You could also get shiny Pokemon now from eggs, which is pretty interesting, right? If you guys like shiny hunting. Good luck, first of all. But you could do that as well. And oh, one last thing I do want to mention for folks who, you know, dropped the game because it's too grindy or whatever, it takes forever to grind stuff. They are planning to improve that drastically by increasing the drops by like a lot. That's also coming in the near future, so there's that as well. And now a lot of events, they just give you like loads of stuff. At the beginning of the game, you know, gym leader notes was a huge issue, right? Gym leader notes are now a joke to obtain almost. Elite Four notes as well, level up manuals, they're all, you know, much easier to obtain. So the game is much less grindier as well, and it's going to be even more less grindier when, again, the next update to that happens. So yeah, anyways, that's something for this one, I guess. Just mostly going over some of the improvements that they made in 2020 for the game. And it's doing very well, I'd say. Personally, again, I don't know if you're biased, but I like the game a lot. It's very fun, and lots of more stuff to do. And also, the 1-year anniversary is coming in just a bit under 2 months. So again, this would be a really good time to pick the game up if you want to save some gems up for that, because it's going to be very hype. Whatever they're gonna do for the 1-year anniversary, it's gonna be huge. Like for the 6-month anniversary, which again isn't obviously not as large as the 1-year anniversary, they dropped Signisuit Red and Charizard and Signisuit Elisa, right? So that was huge, and it's about to get even huger. So huger, is that a thing? Even more huge? I don't know, whatever. Anyways, well, that's maybe this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, thanks or shout outs to TC for sponsoring this video on Patreon. And yeah, again, I hope you guys enjoy the game. If you guys do plan on playing, let me know if you guys are in the comments down below, which, you know, if there was a specific reason that it made you play the game again, want to pick up the game again. Really love to know that. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.